r/AskReddit. Which challenge you completely nailed because you are expert at the field? I'm really good at archery. My friend and I rented him a bow at the local range and he wanted to bet me beers for every round. I told him repeatedly, no, you will not win. He could probably get lucky if we did 1-arrow shoot-offs, but he wanted to do proper 3-arrow rounds. He insisted. I drank for free all night. I hope you took a bow after that excellent performance. How good is really good, since you're comparing to someone using a rental bow? I used to compete. For reference, a standard 18 meters fit a target, I could shoot a perfect score. A neighbor on my block in Brooklyn challenged me to a pizza bake-off. I recently catered pizza for my daughter's school and word got around the neighborhood my pizza was pretty darn good. My first thought was, this guy is a Brooklyn native, my pizza will be shite compared to his. But there was something about him bragging that I couldn't resist the challenge. He talked up how pizza was in his blood, how his dad ran the pizza place around the corner years ago. I remained silent and let my skills answer for themselves. I got a buddy to let us use one of Baker's Pride ovens at his restaurant. We even had total strangers try our pizzas. Every last person chose my pizza over his. I never mentioned to him that I've worked in pizza places almost every day for the last 30 years. I never mentioned that when I'm not working at a pizza place I'm making pizzas at home at least once every 2 days. I never mentioned that at 9 years old I knew that I wanted to be a pizza man. Here I'm 45 and getting ready to start my own pizza business. You go, you crazy pizza man. Wasn't me, but there's a story about an old geotechnical engineer who used to work for the company I work for. Several senior staff had to attend a meeting with the client and some government regulatory staff who were being awkward and not approving the design. This geotech guy is pretty much quiet the whole meeting. Throughout the discussion, the government guy keeps referencing this research document and shooting down anything anybody suggests. Near the end of the meeting, geotech asks government guy if he has the research paper with him. He responds yes and places it on the table. Geotech asks government guy who is the author of the paper. Then slides over a business card. Turns out it's geotech's own paper that government guy has been referencing to defend his argument. Government guy went bright red and apparently approved the design the same day. A very proper, you don't know who I am, do you? One of the few times that's acceptable. Some Japanese client that studied in France asked me for a translation job, but wanted to change all my sentences to prove she was better than me at my own mother tongue. She ended up writing something grammatically correct, but that sounded so horribly sexual that if you tried and googled the terms you would only find erotic novels. I had to tell my boss she was forcing me to write porn because it was for a mascara brand that was supposed to be sold in France, so he could stop her, and after that she stopped trying to best me. I took French in high school. Dropped out of that class after 6 weeks with a 26 average. How is it that you've constructed an entire language where just minor tweaks can turn any sentence you say into something vulgar? Don't get me wrong. I think it's genius and impressive, lol. A local mall had a portable climbing wall with a make it to the top and win $100 side. The route was actually pretty challenging. As I walked by, the guy asked me if I'd like to try. Nobody has made it to the top. You think you can do it, buddy? At the time I was ranked top 12 climber in my age group and kind of laughed to myself. After taking my $100 I then proceeded to call the rest of my climbing team, and one by one they went to the mall and claimed their $100. After the fourth person the guy got suspicious and took the sign down. We later told him we were all nationally ranked competition climbers and he got a good laugh. The company who owned the rentals was the one who lost the money. He just worked the booth and wasn't the one who lost the prize money. This happened to me too, at an amusement park. I think I was around 13, and my brother was around 10 to 12. The guy had a bunch of adults just try the wall and failed, and my family had been watching. He tossed out no way the kids can do it. We both scrambled up that wall like monkeys and walked away with $200. Good times. My landlord tried blaming me for damage to the kitchen cabinets, but didn't know that I'm in construction and I'm very familiar with home building codes. They placed the cabinets too close to the stove and the glue that held the laminate had melted. My old landlord tried to screw me over on our security deposit when we moved out after 10 years. Put a ton of questionable stuff on the bill, missed the window for providing receipts by a few days, and only had quotes for work that he never eventually got done. I'm not a lawyer, but my work life is all focused on telecom regulation and contracts. I also have a degree in history with a focus on legal history in some areas. So it was easy enough to get a basic handle on the state and local laws around this stuff as well as pull up case law. We had a couple back and forth interactions over email when I finally responded with each place where he ducked up, giving him detailed references to the laws in question and how they'd been interpreted by local courts. Also pointed out that some of the things he was doing were pretty clearly being done in bad faith, and that if I was able to demonstrate that in small claims court where he can't bring a lawyer, he'd potentially be liable for triple damages. He emailed me back the next day saying he just wanted to move on and not pursue the claims anymore. Stupid thing is, this was all over a couple $1,000s. He ended up selling the place for about $1.3 million, which was a nice $900,000 increase from when he bought the place in the 90s. Asshole. When working as a teacher, I beat a lot of students in Pokemon battles, cause they didn't think of me being like 15 years ahead of them in fighting experience. Noobs. I was a competitive swimmer for 14 years, including 4 years of NCAA, but I'm on the shorter side, so people don't assume I was any good. Was at a friend's house on a lake one summer, and a macho guy challenged me to race to a buoy in the middle of the lake to prove something, I guess. The lake is deceptively large, about a half mile across, so I warned him that if he isn't a strong swimmer it could be dangerous. He was running out of gas after about 2 minutes, so I offered to let him off the hook, but he insisted he would finish. I went to the buoy and was swimming back when I found him floundering, so I lifeguard swam him back to the house. His ego took a deserved hit that day. Don't get cocky around water, even if you think you're a strong swimmer. Yup, hotel pools are where I shine. A Tinder date bet me dinner that I couldn't beat her in Smash. I've been playing competitively for around 6 years, so she ended up paying for dinner. LMAO, was she any good? She knew how to play, which is something. Didn't even pick Kirby. My wife and I were taking an evening cruise for adults in Portsmouth Bay. The ship drove around the shipyard, where my submarine and several others were stationed. My wife and I are having a quiet drink when a really loud know-it-all starts spouting misinformation about each submarine we are driving by, calling them all the wrong class, wrong names, etc. When he literally points to my submarine and says, "And that is a 637 class," my wife finally speaks up and says, "Actually that is a 688. The guy gets all gruff and says, "Well, how would you know?" My wife smiles, hugs my arm, and says sweetly, "That's my husband's submarine. It is the Minneapolis St. Paul, SNN 708. He turned beet red, while his date laughed. Not me, but my brother and best friend. We were in Baltimore for a baseball weekend in 2009, and hanging out at a bar across from Camden Yards. They had a Silver Strike bowling video game. At our local bar back in Boston we had one as well. I'm decent at the game, but my brother and buddy were ducking amazing at this game. Bowling 300 games and whatnot. So 2 dudes are playing this game and drinking. We ask them if we can play when they are done. They ask if we want to play them. We said sure. My brother and buddy destroy these guys. Like it wasn't even close. These dudes said it was a fluke and they wanted a rematch, but this time for a round of beers. Again, Annihilation City. But they kept wanting to play to eventually win a game. No lie, after 13 rounds of beers they finally gave up. They were great guys. We saw them the next day at the same bar and they walked up to us with beers in hand already and said, rematch. To this day we still hang out with them whenever we go to Baltimore. And to this day, they have never won. I'm not a great swimmer, but there was a time when I would do laps for literally hours. I would go slowly to make sure that I had the energy to do the time I wanted to. This kid challenged me to race. I left him so far behind it was funny. He was about to humiliate me in front of his friends. Non-swimmers who know nothing about technique are an absolute hoot to race. Beaten my fair share of buddies who are quick swimmers and didn't know I raced competitively and went to state finals. I refuse to get in most pools now and so they think I'm scared to swim. I just hate the memories. Chess. I'm a chess master. I think when people hear that they're like, oh he's really good at chess, but what it means is that I've played in international tournaments and beaten other masters and some governing body has given me a title. Anyway, I get challenged a lot by friends who think they are pretty good. What they don't realize is that your average pretty good player is getting destroyed by your average tournament player. And your average tournament player is getting destroyed by a master. I had a friend whose scores didn't align with his skill, and he beat a master once and then never played competitively again. Said he'll never ever do better than that. He still plays with the old men at the mall almost every day. Not me, but a while back a guy I knew from church growing up posted on Facebook something about crusades and medieval Christianity. A girl responded and gave X, Y, Z reasons why he was wrong. The guy responded back with you don't know what you are talking about, you need to do your research, and linked couple of YouTube links of armchair historians / pastors. She hits him back with a dozen or so academic sources and let him know that she was 3 years in a PhD program studying medieval history. While not a pro, I'm pretty darn good at poker. The church I was at had a poker night, and I was just going to watch. They insisted I join the 25-cent game. Came home with $200 and they decided to never have a poker night again.